We're reading the Beis Halevi on Anava. Introduction. Where it all began. The Beis Halevi, Rav Yosef Dov Soloveitchik, was the patriarch of the Brisk dynasty, one of the most enduring, influential Torah dynasties in the modern Torah world. Rav Yosef Dov was born in 1820 in Lithuania to Rav Yitzchak Zev and Rivka Zonovich. Rivka was the granddaughter of Rav Chaim Volozhin, the famed founder of the Yeshivas Volozhin, and known to all as the father of the modern-day yeshiva institution. Rav Yosef Dov grew up in the small town of Brody, located in present-day Ukraine, and was recognized from a young age as an Ilui due to his incredible mind and intellect. During his youth, he developed a close relationship with the rabbi of Brody, Rav Shlomo Kluger. Rav Yosef Dov went to learn in Volozhin at the age of 13 and stayed there until his marriage. The life of greatness. Rav Yosef Dov was recognized as having one of the most brilliant and analytical minds of his time, and was known far and wide as a giant in Torah, Halacha, and Chesed. These characteristics led to his appointment as the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Volozhin in 1854, together with Natziv Rav Naftali Tzvi Yehuda, Berlin. These two great men led the yeshiva for over 10 years. They eventually parted ways, and Rav Yosef Dov left Volozhin to become the Rav of Slutsk in 1865, where he was not only the spiritual leader and the mentor of the community, but he also cared for the poor and needy. He taught Torah. Some of his Talmidim went on to become great leaders in Klal Yisrael. Two of his better-known Talmidim were Rav Yosef Rosen and Rav Zalman Sender Shapiro. True to the fiery personality and the fierce dedication to Torah that would come to personify the Brisker dynasty, the Beis Halevi was a vehement and outspoken opponent of the Haskalah movement. As a result of his opposition, he left Slutsk in 1874. 3 years later, he was offered the position of the Rav of Brisk. When the Rav, until that time, Rabbi Yeshua Leib Diskin, left for Eretz Yisrael, Rav Yosef Dov continued to hold that position until his death in 1892. His son, Rav Chaim Volozchik, succeeded him as the Rav of Brisk. Eternal impact. Rav Yosef Dov left a lasting legacy for the Torah world. One of his farim is a compilation of his responsa known as the Shut Beis Halevi, and another is the brilliant commentary on the Torah called Beis Halevi al HaTorah. Seeds of the famed Brisker derech of learning can be found in his works, but it was all his son Rav Chaim who would develop and expand this method to become the famous Brisker style that is predominant today. The Beis Halevi made another significant written contribution to the Torah world, albeit lesser known than that of the other Sfarim, a treatise on Anava, known as a simple Mussar al Anava. It provides deep and all-encompassing insights on the true meaning of humility. This work has had a profoundly lasting impact on the lives of those who have studied it. A long and winding journey, the fascinating saga of the Beis Halevi's essays. For unknown reasons, the Beis Halevi's essays, among them on Bitachon, Avas Yisrael, and Anava, were not published during his lifetime. The manuscript accompanied his descendants along a long-winding journey until it was released for publication in 1985, almost 100 years after the death of its author. That alone is fascinating to contemplate, but there's more. The story of the treasured manuscripts began with the Beis Halevi's youngest son, Rav Simcha, who was born in Warsaw in 1879. He was just 13 years old when his father passed away. He learned with his father until the until the latter's passing. Then he learned with his brother, Rav Chaim. Rav Chaim said that by the time Rav Simcha was 30 years old, he was an expert in both the Talmud Bavli and Talmud Yerushalmi. And we know how careful Rav Chaim was with his words. In 1911, Rav Simcha was appointed the Rav of the town of Moholav, a position once held by the Malbim. He set up a yeshiva, and many outstanding geniuses went to learn from him. When the Chavetz Chaim went to solicit Rav Chaim's haskama to his sefer, Rav Chaim first had the Chavetz Chaim discuss halachic matters with Rav Simcha. Though Rav Simcha had a very soft and humble demeanor, he battled violently against any breaches in matters of religion, and intervened with the government when necessary, such as the successful effort to exempt Bnei Torah from the conscription into the army. Until ultimately Rav Simcha decided that it was time to leave Russia. The Russians were very antagonistic and made it very difficult for the Jews to leave, especially with their possessions. After all, they were supposed to be enamored of their beloved mother Russia. When Rav Simcha endeavored to leave the country, one of the high-ranking officers overheard the name Soloveitchik and asked Rav Simcha if he was related to Rav Chaim of Soloveitchik. Rav Simcha answered that, in fact, Rav Chaim was his brother. But how did the Russian officer even know Rav Chaim? Rav Chaim, whose home was famously a public thoroughfare where people often visited and often stayed for very lengthy periods of time, used to take in homeless children. This officer was one of those children who had grown into communist. Out of respect and gratitude for Rav Chaim for hosting him in his youth, the Russian officer allowed Rav Simcha and his family to leave. Before the Russians allowed anybody to leave the country, however, they examined their belongings carefully, looked for valuable items hidden in their baggage. The Russians would use spears to stab through a pile of belongings, searching for those hidden treasures. As the Russians were inspecting their possessions, Rav Simcha told the officials, that all they had were books. What kind of books, they asked. Rav Simcha responded that books are powerful writings of Orthodox Jewry. He further explained that if the books were left in Russia, they would create more Orthodox Jews, influencing people who would read them, so the Russians would be better off letting the books out of the country. This argument seemed to resonate with the Russian officers, who agreed, instructing Rav Simcha to take the books out of the country because they didn't want any more of these types of writings to remain in Mother Russia. Among those writings was the manuscript of the Beis Halevi on Bitachon, Abbas Yisrael, and Anava, and that is how it was spirited out of Russia. The family was planning to go by ship to America, with a stop in England first. Before they embarked on the last leg of their journey, they realized that they were missing the valise with the Beis Halevi's manuscripts. Rav Simcha turned to his 15-year-old son, Rav Yosef Dov, and told him that I will not leave these shores unless I have my father's manuscripts. Where are they? They both thought for a few moments, and realized that they must have left the valise on the horse-drawn buggy that they had taken earlier. Rav Yosef Dov went to the police station and informed the officials of their missing suitcase. The police told him that perhaps check their lost and found, stating that there was nothing else they could do, as over 2,000 horse-drawn buggies drove throughout the city. Rav Yosef Dov asked if the drivers were licensed and whether the police had a photo of them. The officers said yes, they did. Rav Yosef Dov asked if they could look through the files of the licensed drivers to see if perhaps he had recognized their driver. Rav Yosef Dov searched through 2,000 licenses and recognized the driver who took them to the dock. He got the driver's home address and went to his house. The man's horse was still warm, as he had just gotten home. They checked the trunk of the buggy and found the missing valise. Thanks to this discovery, the Klal Yisrael was blessed with the Beis Halevi's essays on bitachon, Avos Yisrael, and Anava. Hashem showed that sometimes things can almost be lost forever, but when He wills it, He watches and guards over whatever He wishes to sustain. As far as Rav Simcha's subsequent life's history, he came to America in 1924, arriving on the 8th of Elul, and became the Rav of the Tiferes Yisrael Shul in Brooklyn. He delivered a weekly shir, which was attended by a large crowd. He passed away in New York in 1942. Before Rav Simcha's passing, he entrusted the Beis Halevi's manuscripts to his only son, Rav Yosef Dov. Rav Yosef Dov was the Rav of the Sons of Yisrael Shul in Spring Valley, and had a tremendous impact on the Spring Valley and Monsey Jewish communities. I owe a personal debt of gratitude to Rav Yosef Dov and his rebbetzin, and having been raised in Monsey, my family directly benefit from their influence. Rav Yosef Dov did not succeed in publishing the manuscripts and passed them along to his children, Rav Yitzchak Soloveitchik of Yerushalayim and Rav Simcha Soloveitchik of Monsey. The manuscripts were stored in Monsey until the essays were finally published as an appendix to the classic Beis Halevi on Al HaTorah in 1985. The Beis Halevi trilogy. This essay in the final in the series of the Beis Halevi and brings up the important questions. Why did the Beis Halevi choose to focus on these three topics, bitachon, Avos Yisrael, and Anava? And how are they connected? Moreover, why was this manuscript revealed at this particular moment in history? The common thread among the three essays is that each discusses a concept offering both a great opportunity to fulfill a positive commandment along with a significant risk of sin. The Beis Halevi explains this in relation to bitachon, trust in God. The obligation of bitachon appears in many verses, and lacking bitachon is a great sin. Regarding Avos Yisrael, love for every Jew, he writes, the commandment to love every Jew is a positive commandment, and Anava, humility, he inserts, humility is praiseworthy and greater than all attributes listed by Rav Pinchas ben Yair. Furthermore, according to the Beis Halevi, the gava, the arrogance, the opposition of humility, is among the most severe sins in the Torah. Not only do these three traits stand as mitzvos on their own, but their absence can lead to additional sins, while keeping to them leads to the additional mitzvos. The Beis Halevi helps avoid, among other sins, envy, greed, and dishonesty, leading instead to generosity, love of God, and integrity. Avos Yisrael prevents jealousy, anger, and hatred, which can lead to serious sins like slander. Instead of bringing out appreciation, understanding, and the ability to carry out another's burden, Anava also keeps one away from disputes, anger, baseless hatred, and lashon hara. It brings peace, calm, and unconventional love, and soft-spoken speech into a speech in its wake. Finally, the Beis Halevi stresses that all the above topics are issues of the heart. Concerning bitachon, he writes, the foundation of trust in Hashem lies in the heart. Similarly, he says that Avos Yisrael requires arousing the heart to love others. If you don't awaken this love, you haven't fulfilled the commandment concerning Anava, or more accurately, the opposite, gava. He cites the Pesukim to drive home this point. Every haughty heart is the abomination of Hashem, as well as, and your heart will become haughty and you will forget Hashem. All three essays focus on the heart, just as the name of the Mussar Sefer Chavos HaLevavos, the duties of the heart, by Rabbeinu Bachya, reminds us that we must focus on our inner thoughts, not just actions. But still, we may wonder, why did Hashgacha cause these teachings to come to light now? The answer is bitachon, Anava, Avos Yisrael, and Anava are essential for bringing close to the Geula, the redemption. Rav Yaakov Hillel explains that these essays were hidden until our generation, the final generation, in order to help us prepare for the Geula. Interestingly, these three themes are hinted to in the Al-Lacha Anaya, the open stanza of the Magid of the Haggadah Shel Pesach, which is read on the night of the redemption from Egypt. Anava, the first phrase, this is the bread of affliction, hints at Anava. The goal of the Egyptian exile was to humble us. Matzah, the flat and unadorned, represents humility, while chametz, high and puffed up, signifies arrogance. The first step towards redemption is cultivating humility. A famous midrash states, "Humble people, the time of your redemption has arrived," and Mashiach is referred to as a humble man riding upon a donkey. Yes, humility is essential for the final redemption. Avos Yisrael, whoever is hungry, let him come and eat. At the start of the Seder, we let out a call inviting all those who are needy to join us. We want to share what we have. One of the fundamental traits of a Jew is his involvement in his acts of loving kindness, an active display of his love for his fellow Jew, and we know that the second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed because of unwarranted hatred. Only by exhibiting unwarranted love displayed through acts of chesed will we be worthy of being redeemed. Moreover, our sages have taught that one of the ways through which we can be spared of the birth pangs of Mashiach is by occupying ourselves in chesed. Bitachon, next year may we be in the land of Israel. In this is the belief that though we are now in Galus, our situation can change in the blink of an eye, and we can be redeemed on our way to Eretz Yisrael before we know it. After all, one of the 13 principles of faith is our belief in Mashiach's arrival. Furthermore, we can protect ourselves during the troubled and dangerous times that herald Mashiach's arrival by looking to Hashem as our rock and relying upon Him. The Gemara discusses the Jewish barometer for greatness. We don't judge true greatness based on how much knowledge one possesses or how well he can arrange a point. Rather, Hashem wants the heart. The true gauge of greatness is based on how devoted our heart is to Hashem and His people. This is as Shmuel Hanavi stated, "But Hashem sees into the heart. In order for us to merit the final redemption, we must rebuild our heart." These three principles, Anava, Avos Yisrael, and Bitachon, are central to building our heart and central to the redemption. By following them, we can prepare ourselves for the Geula, and the time to do so is now, as we are living in the generation of the footsteps of Mashiach.